The number one problem with every agency and B2B SaaS that I have worked with is the same. They don't have a predictable process to generate qualified leads, nurture them, and book appointments with them. I'm running outbound for multiple businesses, including Instantly.ai, which is one of the largest outreach platform in the world. And in all of these companies, I have deployed similar revenue generation systems, which maps out your entire TAM, finds high intent leads using buying signals, writes deep researched outreach messages at scale, and book them straight into your calendar. I'm going to walk you through this entire system in this whimsical flowchart. This is the exact architecture that I used to generate over $1.7 million in sales across my clientele in 2025 by sending over 2.3 million cold emails. I have divided the framework into 5 different steps. So let's start with the first one, which is building the infrastructure. So whenever you are planning to run outbound, then this is literally the most fundamental step that you need to first take care of, which is essentially buying domains and mailboxes. A lot of times people have misconception that why do I send emails from my primary domain or my main company domain and mailboxes? The reason is ESPs like Google, Microsoft, and other SMTPs, they have made cold emailing spam triggers so much robust so that it is very hard to use the same domain for cold outbound for long time. So typically I see that if you're following the best practices of doing cold emails properly and delivering into primary inbox, even then your entire infrastructure in the domain will get burnt up in couple of months. Maybe it might take 8 9 months. Maybe if you are like doing rough outreach, then it can even get burned in like just 2 or 3 months, and then you need to buy new domains for the outreach. uh, Oftentimes they get blacklisted in multiple servers, and it's not the best option to reach out to each server providers to unblock them, because it's a very hectic process and you don't need to do it for each domain. So that's the reason why you need to purchase secondary domains. Now, the next question is that how many domains and mailboxes you need to purchase. So here's the answer. It typically depends on the volume of outreach that you want to do. Uh, so generally, if your TAM size is above 50 or 60,000 companies in your geography, I recommend starting with like sending at least 1,000 or 1,500 emails a day. Let's say you're starting with 1,500 emails a day. That means you would need 150 mailboxes, because for each mailbox, we will be sending 10 emails per day per mailbox. So that means 150 mailbox will be required to send 1,500 emails every single day. And by the way, you will be sending on working days only. I don't recommend sending on weekends. However, if you're targeting very small businesses and specifically their owners, founders, then oftentimes they are active and they are working on their business on even on weekends. So you can reach out to them on weekends as well. But I tend to avoid it for bigger businesses, and if you're targeting any other job title who don't have direct stakes in the company, oftentimes they don't work in weekends. So that's the reason why I typically reach out on weekdays. There are like almost 22 to 23 working days in a month. So you can multiply this 1,500 with that so that you can know how many total emails a month that you're sending. And for each mailbox, I mean, one domain will have 3 mailbox under them. Now, again, this will depend on provider to provider. This is an example for Google. So if you're getting your infrastructure on Google, then one domain would have 3 mailboxes. But let's say if you decide to get your infrastructure and the fundamental of your entire cold emails, this is literally the building block. So it needs to be strong. That's why I recommend don't rely on just one single ESP. By ESP, I mean email service providers. So don't rely on just one of them, because in past Google had brought very strong restrictions towards cold outbound for some time. And it took a lot of months for us cold emailers to figure out how to bypass that. But during that time, if you're just relying on Google, then you will literally like all your emails will go into spam. So that's the reason why I won't recommend just relying on one specific ESP. However, you can if you're just starting out. But if you want to build this long-term machine and In that case, I will recommend at least diversify between two providers. Google, Outlook, these are like two very trusted providers. However, there are SMTP providers as well, which are private companies who host their server and they host all their mailboxes on that server. So you can use that as well, and that is often way cheaper compared to Google and Outlook inboxes. But the matter of fact is that this structure is only for the Google ones. For SMTP, it would depend. For example, here I mentioned there are like a lot of SMTP providers like Mailreef. For example, Mailreef, I guess they recommend having 5 mailboxes under one domain. There are other ones like Maildoso, which recommends having 4 mailboxes under one domain. The last time I checked, it was 4. Uh, but it keeps on changing based on the ideal number of emails you are sending per mailbox per domain. And we don't want to keep hundreds of mailboxes under one domain normally, especially for Google and SMTP based, because so let's say if you're doing 100 mailboxes, uh, then let's say if you're sending 10 emails per day per mailbox, that means 1000 emails sent across all these mailboxes under one domain. So if you're sending 1000 emails, so if you're sending 1000 emails under one domain, it is 100% gonna get burned up maybe in a couple of next days. So that's why you need to limit that under like probably 40, 50, or at max 100 emails per domain per day. However, it depends on provider to provider. So based on whichever provider you are working with, just stick with that. So based on whichever provider you're working with, just ask the So based on whichever provider you're working with, just ask the right number of emails that each domain should have and how many number of emails per mailbox should be sent based on their servers. Just ask them and just follow that practice. But don't forget to diversify because that's the key here. There is one more there is one more interesting fact that Outlook mailboxes often recommend. There is one more interesting fact that Outlook and Azure based providers, they often recommend having 100 or at least 99 mailboxes under one domain. But here's a caveat that you are not sending 10 emails per day in that case, because you still want to limit the number of emails sent under one domain. So even though if you have, let's say, 99 mailboxes under a single domain, you are going to save a lot of cost on domains. However, you need to understand that you are sending way less volume per mailbox. I think some providers recommend just 2 emails per day on Outlook mailboxes, since you have so many mailbox under one domain. So in the Outlook setup, oftentimes you save a lot of money on domains because now you are buying less domains. And in other providers like Google and SMTP, you're buying lots of domains because you're just having 3 mailboxes or 4 or probably 5 mailboxes at max under one domain. So here's where to get your domains from. I often recommend Spaceship as of now when I'm recording this video. And I've been using this since last 2 years. Earlier I was using GoDaddy, then Pokebun, and then I shifted to Spaceship. The reason why I shifted to Spaceship is it's very cheap compared to other providers like Pokebun or GoDaddy. And a good way to find out which provider is cheaper for your specific TLD, I have found a website, this one. So it's a public website which gives real-time comparison of .com and .net, all sorts of domain TLD prices across different platforms and providers. So you can see .com domains are cheapest at Spaceship, and you can even use this promo code to get some discount as well. You can also see other TLD domains and the cheapest cost. Generally, you will see a Spaceship here in every single TLD. This has been since last 1 year, and Spaceship is literally providing every single TLD type for cheapest. And I also like the UI. It's very good, interactive, and easy to navigate. Now, when we are talking about mailboxes, you can use multiple resellers. You don't buy directly from Google or from Outlook itself, because there are a lot of authentications, a lot of DNS setups, a lot of things, configurations that you need to do, which you don't want to. And it is required to do, because otherwise, if you're not doing all those DNS setups, TMARC configuration, DKIM configuration, SPF configuration, in that case, your emails will it's almost guaranteed that your emails will go into spam. And that's the reason why I recommend using some kind of reseller to purchase your mailboxes from, because these resellers will take care of every single authentication, configuration, verification, everything. So you can focus your time on the strategy and the setup instead of doing all these technical configuration, which you might mess up, and eventually it will just waste all of your time and money while you are doing cold email campaigns. Currently, I'm really liking this reseller called inboxkit.com. They provide Google mailboxes, Microsoft 365, that is often Outlook, and then Azure mailboxes as well. So it's quite cheap as well, and they are official partners with Google Cloud. So you can use these as well. However, this video is not sponsored by them, but I'm really liking their service, thus I'm promoting it. For SMTP, you can use Mailreef. There's also one another called Maildoso, which is also a famous SMTP provider and a trusted one that you can use. I recommend spending at least 30 to 50% of your outbound budget in the first month on infra, because infrastructure is literally the most important pillar of your outbound. Because no matter how good your offer is, no matter how good your messaging is, no matter how much aggressive testing you are doing, no matter how good your targeting is, no matter how good your lead list is, if your infrastructure sucks and it is not delivering in primary folder, that everything goes into waste. Your whole time, all the efforts, all the money that you invest in it, everything goes waste, right? So that's why I say that this is literally the building block of your entire outbound machine. So please spend good amount of money here. Diversify this properly across different providers, and follow all the good practices that I told you. Now let's move to the second pillar, which is ICP and messaging creation. I also call this ICP offer matrix, which typically means that you're creating multiple ICP segments. By ICP, I mean your ideal client persona. Oftentimes, I don't just reach out to a broad market. I do it very rarely if we have a mass market offer, but oftentimes I create very specific offers for specific segments. For example, let's say if you're in an industry where you target multiple markets, multiple sub industries. For example, let's say I'm in cold email industries. I work with generally all B2B industries. So that may be marketing industry, that may be IT companies, that may be any type of business who have some kind of B2B offer and sells to other online businesses. So for me, I can divide my ICP based on different industries, or I can divide my ICPs based on different company headcounts, because smaller headcount companies will respond way differently to my emails compared to bigger headcount companies, enterprises, and all sorts of businesses. So you need to have different offers, different messagings based on the specific pain points of the ICPs that you're reaching out. A smaller business in a specific industry in USA won't have the same pain points compared to a huge business in different industry in Singapore. So that's why you need to differentiate your ICPs based on common pain points and then craft multiple offers for them. Now, while creating offers, just ensure that you are minimizing the amount of risk on their shoulder. You're taking all the risk on yourself, and you're maximizing the deliverables. I'll give you an example for cold emails. So one of the best offers for a cold email agency would be, instead of just pitching that, hey, we'll end-to-end manage your cold email campaigns on a monthly retainer. Instead of this, you can say something like that, hey, we can run your campaigns, but you just pay us when you actually close a client. This way, you're minimizing the risk on their end, and you're taking all the risk on your end. So if you only so this so this means if you deliver results, then only you get paid, and you don't get paid in case if you don't deliver results. So this So this means that you need to be really good with your stuff and deliver actual result in a very good way to uh, a really good way to craft your offer is to a really good way to craft your offer a really good way to craft your offer is to a really good way to craft your offer a really good way to craft your offer is to map out the most important KPI that directly impacts A really good way to craft your offer is to map out your most important and impactful KPI that you can. A really good way to craft good offers is to map out the most important and impactful KPI that matters most to your clients. For example, in cold emails as a service, the most important KPI is revenue generated by cold emails. So just map it out with your service and charge based on this KPI. These types of offer specific campaigns and messaging works the best. Nothing beats them. So always keep that in mind. And if you get the offer right, then you will save a lot of money and a lot of time on testing multiple offers, multiple ICPs. I would rather recommend just start with a couple of ICPs, just 2 or 3 ICPs with 1 or 2 really, really, really strong offers. A lot of smaller businesses often ask me that, hey, Ani, what if I don't meet the KPI requirement? In that case, I won't be getting paid. I just want to work with businesses on monthly retainer basis. I don't care about results because even with my current clients, my success rate is not 100%. But most of my clients are not satisfied with my work. If you're someone like that, then you have a totally different problem in your business, which is actually fulfillment and getting best at what you do. So in those cases, I would 100% recommend actually work in this model, because if you work in this model, you will be able to get way more clients. And let's say even if the churn rate becomes high, and if you're not making money with most of your clients, but since you're working with lots and lots of clients now, you'll still make more profit compared to the model before, where you are getting way less client with a fixed amount of money. Even now, like if you adopt this process, you get 10x more clients, and let's say 50% of them don't pay because your service and fulfillment sucks, but rest 50% of them will pay you way more because you have fulfilled the KPI requirements. And this is a really good way to get better at what you do. Another way how I would approach that problem, that let's say if it's some kind of business where a lot of times specific KPIs cannot be met, or oftentimes clients have crazy expectations from you, even though if you have a good offer, in those cases, what I would recommend, have a lot of terms and conditions associated with your offer. So let's say you want to outsource lead generation to me. I work on tech stack cost plus pay per close basis. So tech stack is basically, I mean, I cannot do anything on that because it's a tool cost. And even if you were running outbound yourself, you would be paying for all that tool cost. And the second thing is pay per close, where I will be making money. So I will only make money when you make money. And let's say if my fulfillment was not that good, so I would have multiple conditions to work on this model. For example, I would need at least 10 sales reps in your team. If you don't have 10 sales reps, then this model is probably not for you. Second condition, that I would need your sales reps to at least have 30% closing rate. So I'll go into your last 10 sales calls and review them and then check what's the closing rate. If it's less than 30%, then I'll say that, hey, you don't meet this condition. So if your potential clients are not that good with their own sales process or their own fulfillment, that would make them not fit for your main offer. So now you can downsell them with some kind of retainer or some other low risk offer for you. So that's also another way how to reduce risk of yourself on these types of no-brainer offers. So just keep doing this for every single ICP campaigns. Keep one campaign for this, one campaign for this, one campaign for this, and then different one campaign for each offer and ICP. That's how you test it, and at least send 5,000 emails per campaign to get the actual insights. If you're sending less, if you're just sending 500 emails, 1000 emails per campaign just to extract insights from them, you won't get any tangible insights. 5,000 is a minimum number if your TAM size is more than 50,000. Let's say if your TAM, if the total number of companies in your total addressable market are just 1 or 2,000, in that case, obviously you cannot send 5,000 emails. You'll get way less emails compared to that. So in that case, the script is totally different. But generally, if your TAM is big, then just do a mass high volume testing to know what is working and what is not. Now, since this is clear, let's move to the next pillar, which is where we will actually go deep into the technical aspect of this entire outbound process. So that's where you will be scraping your leads, and you will be using buying signals to scrape high intent leads for your business. So first, let's talk about the TAM. So I often recommend, whenever you are building the entire outbound machine, have two types of approaches. First is, let's say if you're doing a mass high volume outreach, always scrape your entire TAM on day one. But if you're not too sure about the ICPs and if you're still refining the ICP, don't do it yet, because if you end up scraping and spending a lot of money on building a list of 300k leads in your ICP TAM, and then you realize that the leads are not your ICP. Actually, your ICP is way different because you have done a lot of testing, you refine, and now you know who you want to work with. So that's why only and only if you know who you want to work with, who are the perfect ideal customers, only in that case, scrape your TAM. And this is very important to scrape your TAM, because you'll get a lot of insights and information about the ICPs that you are reaching out to. So here's the best practices of scraping TAM. Now, what database or what directory, which tool to use to scrape all of this, it depends a lot. Who your ICP is, it depends mostly on that. Let's say if you want to reach out to tech companies. So for tech companies or just SaaS companies, B2C SaaS, B2B SaaS, FinTech, MarTech, all sorts of those technology businesses, they are easily scrapable on Crunchbase. So whenever I need to scrape tech startups or SaaS companies, I always go to Crunchbase. If you want to go cheap, just create a free account. Crunchbase offers 14 days trial. In that 14 days trial, you can scrape unlimited leads using Instant Data Scraper. So that's kind of like a web scraper. It's also a Chrome extension. You can use it for free. And then you will be able to scrape entire Crunchbase, all the companies that fits into your criterias. You will be able to put all those filters like headcount filter. You will be able to filter via keywords, via industries, via job titles. There are a lot of filters that you can put and then eventually scrape them. But let's say if you are reaching out to, if your ideal customers are more on the service-based industry, let's say they are marketing agencies. In that case, I would rather go with Clutch and other agency databases like Agency Vista. So you can just use them, just scrape them via any JavaScript or Python-based scraper, or you can even use Instant Data Scraper. But oftentimes, since these are huge directories, it takes a lot of time to scrape them. That's why I would rather use a Python-based scraper to scrape it. And you can build these scrapers via Claude Code plus Cursor, and then just run it for free. Again, you don't need to pay anything to scrape these companies. And then Apollo.io is a general database which contains all sorts of businesses, all local businesses, service-based, SaaS, everything. But the problem with Apollo.io is that there's not good filtering criteria. So let's say if I want to filter out SaaS companies in Apollo.io, I won't be able to do that because Apollo.io don't have any industry or keyword filter for SaaS. Apollo.io have a filter called information technology or information technology service, but that will contain all the IT firms as well along with the SaaS companies. So I'll get a mixed data. One thing that you can do, you can still scrape that data and then you can qualify those leads on Clay using AI agents. And then you can disqualify all those people or companies who don't fit into the SaaS criteria and then only go ahead with the SaaS ones. That's one thing that you can do. In that case, you need to spend a lot of AI credits. If you don't want to do that, then I would rather recommend using a better data source like Clutch or any other data source which is specifically made for that industry scraping that you want to do. Now, if you're confused, if you're in a very niche industry, and if you don't know what's the good directory that I should scrape, go to Perplexity, use the research mode of Perplexity Pro, and then just research. Just tell it that, hey, this is my specific ICP, this is the industry, these are the company descriptions and all of that, and just tell me the best directories which are public, and I can web scrape them, and it will give you. So just go build a web scraper and then scrape it. Again, you can build a Python based scraper easily via Cloud Code plus Cursor in order to scrape that entire directory completely for free, or if it's even paid, and if there's no other way to scrape that, then you can also buy it if it is affordable. Since you are going to do the TAM scraping just once, then oftentimes the investment is worth it, since you can also use this list in your ad campaigns. You can upload this as a custom audience, and that also often gives you a very good level of targeting and results as well. Now let's come to the second one, which is set up automations for scraping high intent leads via buying signals. Now this is quite hot right now because a lot of people have started to talk about this, but still most of the people who are doing cold emails, they don't leverage buying signals. And these buying signals, if used correctly, they can totally change the game. Let's say if you're sending 1000 emails to get one positive reply, if you use the right buying signal to source your leads, in that case, you might even get one positive reply out of every 500 emails sent, or out of every 200 emails you send. Oftentimes, whenever I run these intent based campaigns, I see an EPP, which is emails per positive, of 200 or 300, which means that you're sending just 200 emails to get one positive reply, which is considered really, really, really good in this benchmark space. Now, what are the good triggers? Now, this will depend business to business. For example, let's say if you are running a recruitment firm, you would want to work with businesses who's looking to hire someone ASAP. So a good trigger can be this one, which is hiring for a specific role, which you can see on multiple hiring portals. Let's say Adobe is hiring for system engineers on Indeed in USA. I can just reach out to the HR manager who posted that hiring post about this specific thing, and I can scrape some kind of description of that role, and I can say something like this: hey, I just saw that you guys posted a hiring post for system engineer on Indeed, and you're looking for a full-time on-site engineer. I do have 3 candidates who fits the exact criteria that you have wrote in the job description. Can I send it to you? Question mark. This email would work crazy well because you are reaching out to them at the right time with super relevant information without any bad offer. So the offer is really good. You're literally saying that, hey, we'll send you 3 candidates. Now, obviously, you need to have a really good appointment setting mechanism to convert those cold leads, conversing with them, nurture them, and eventually at one point they will be warmed enough that they would want to get on a call with you. And that's when your automated reply agent sends them the calendar link where they can book a call with you, and you can just close them and deliver what you initially promised in the first email. Now, you might need to use a totally different buying signal for your solution that you sell. Here are the common ones which I work with the most, irrespective of the industry that you are in, irrespective of the solution that you're offering. New role is literally one of the best buying signal that I always use across all my clients. The reason why it works really good is that, let's say if someone who is just getting hired in a company or getting promoted and is just like 1 month old, 2 month old, they often want to prove something. So they would be more prone to reply to these cold messages compared to a super old employee who is already comfortable in the system. There are a lot of other triggers as well. For example, scraping engagement of famous LinkedIn influencers, or competitor follower scraping. This means that you are scraping followers of your competitor's company page on LinkedIn. This would be really effective if you're a B2B SaaS, because competitors might have really good amount of followers and a lot of them might be good target for you. So you can reach out to them, and these types of campaigns works really well in my experience. Recent news is also quite popular: product launch, office expansion, and there are a lot of other ones as well, which actually tells you that this lead is super high intent, needs your service right now. Now, since this is clear, let's move to the next segment, which is the lead list building process. Now, we have already scraped those businesses. Now, we need to enrich them, find decision makers, qualify those leads. So, because we don't want to reach out to bad fits, we want to filter out all those bad fits and just reach out to the people who fits your qualification criteria. So, here's how we do that. Oftentimes, I use Clay for this entire process, because Clay is quite handy. It's kind of like spreadsheets, but with steroids. You can also connect third-party APIs like your OpenAI key, email enrichment provider, email verifier, your web scraper, anything. So it's pretty good. And the first step that I often do here, whenever I scrape the TAM, and let's say if I just have the company list, in that case, I'll import all that company list on Clay, and then I'll enrich the basic data points if I don't have them. But in case if you have those basic data points like website of those companies and or LinkedIn page of those companies, in that case, you can skip this step. For example, let's say if you're sourcing all leads from Apollo with a direct search, or let's say even SalesNav, in that case, you would have websites and LinkedIn page for almost all the businesses. Now, the second one is lead/account qualification plus research. Now, I'll explain this. And this is, by the way, really important step that you cannot miss. No matter how good your scraping source is, still there would be a lot of junk and you would not want to reach out to them. So in that case, you need to have some kind of prompt for the web research agent of Clay, which is called Clayagent. So Clayagent will be going over each company's website in your list and verifying with your qualification criteria whether it fits or not. It can also score it. Let's say if you want to reach out to companies who get scored more than 7 in your criteria out of 10. Only if they score more than 7, including 7, then only they qualify to be reached out. In that case, you can do that using Clayagent. You can have multiple criteria based on which you are scoring these leads, and then you're reaching out to them only if they fits the scoring criteria. In this prompt, you can also research about the lead and output that research for your email copywriting prompt, where you can craft some highly personalized messages. I use research prompts often to scrape recent achievements about the business. For example, any recent news, funding, any new key hire, product launch, anything which I can reference in the email to make it more personalized and directly link that with my product or the solution that I'm selling. This approach works the best. There's nothing which works better than this, because you're making this super relevant for them and it is working on the time effect. It is time relevant. And once you have done the research and once they qualify, in that case, we will find the decision makers. Sometimes, let's say if you're directly scraping for Apollo, then you can scrape directly people and you won't need to just scrape the companies. So in that case, you can directly qualify them and then do the email enrichment. But if you have accounts, by accounts, I mean companies in your list, in that case, you will need to find decision makers. Now, there are a lot of ways how you can find decision makers. There are a lot of tools which allows that. Even Clay has that feature how you can find decision makers in all those companies who fits the criteria. You can use either Clay's tool. There's another tool called Blitz API. You can use that as well. That is also quite affordable. And then you can also use OpenAI. So you can use the AI web research agent of Clay, which is called Clayagent, to scrape internet, scrape LinkedIn, everything in order to find the proper job titles that you want in those companies. So that can also be done. And once you have all those decision makers, you can find emails using a waterfall email enrichment. Now, if you don't know what waterfall email enrichment is, I'll explain you in just a few seconds. Think of it like you have multiple email providers stack up on top of each other. So the first email provider, let's say it's Find Email, and then you are running it across all the decision makers, all the leads that you have. Say out of 100 leads, you just find 20 emails and you don't find rest 80 emails with this provider. Now you'll verify those 20 emails, whether they are correct or not. So in here we are using totally different tool for email verification. And if they are unverified or unknown emails, then we will use another provider to find the right email, and then we will again verify it, and then we'll keep on repeating this process. There are a lot of verification statuses as well. For example, an email can be catch-all, an email can be unverified, an email can be unknown, an email can be valid. So only if the email is valid, you are only reaching out to them. You're not reaching out to all those other statuses. And a lot of times you won't be able to find emails. That's where we are using other providers as well. So let's say 20 emails were found here, and then out of 20, only 17 were verified and 3 were not verified. So the rest of the 80 emails plus 3 emails which were not verified will be sent here. That means 83 leads would be sent here for finding their emails. Now let's say out of 83, we just find emails of 50, and the rest 33 emails were not found, which will go to the next provider, and all those emails which were not verified here will also add up and go to the next provider. So it's kind of like a waterfall email enrichment, and you don't need to set up logic for any of this. This is already taken care on Clay, and you can just set this up in a few seconds. Now next step, which you're only running for verified emails. You're not running it for unknown emails or unverified emails, invalid emails, catch-all emails. You don't want to reach out to them, because if you reach out to them, then your emails will bounce. There's a high chances of that. And if your bounce rate is high, then your infrastructure will get burnt up way faster. And it might be possible that in just a couple of weeks of sending emails, your infrastructure is blown away and it is delivering 100% in spam. And then there's no going back. The only way to get back is to buy new domains and mailboxes, warm them up for the next 14 days, and then start this process again properly. That's why oftentimes people outsource the lead gen, because they are totally frustrated trying this themselves and failing constantly, and then they end up realizing that this is not easy. It's very hard to maintain the entire process and keep the infrastructure healthy. Now, for all the verified emails that get sent to this step, we would be doing a round robin of all of them, and this can also be done on Clay. By round robin, I mean that all the verified emails and verified leads and qualified leads, they're being distributed equally among multiple variants. Now, what are these variants? If you remember previously from our ICP and messaging creation step, we are sending multiple different types of offers to a single ICP, and your one Clay table will resemble one ICP, because you'll be scraping these differently, separately, right? That means one Clay table that you have built, if you have 3 offers, and that means 3 different messages, in this case, you would need 3 different variants, one for each offer. So that's why we are dividing the leads equally among 3 different variants using the round robin approach, which is done randomly using Clay's native feature. And then you can also do it for 100 different offers, for 500 different offers, or let's say if you just have one offer, you don't want to do testing, you already know which offer is working for you. In that case, you can also skip this step. But if you're starting this from scratch, then I often recommend have at least 2 to 3 variants, so that you have good amount of A/B testing going forward. And even if one of them actually works, you would have a good idea of what's working and what's not working. You can turn off those campaigns which are not working, and then use those leads to refill the other campaigns which are actually working. And once you have done the round robin, that means you have tagged all the verified and qualified leads based on the offers or variants that will go on, then you will do the custom variable enrichment. Now this is where all those personalizations will kick in. It includes all the variables that we are using in our emails, which means even the job title normalization, company name normalization, etc. Oftentimes use company name variable in the email. You reference the company name of the prospect, of the lead that you're reaching out. And a lot of times it has LTD or INC or LLC behind the entire company name, which makes it looks unprofessional and looks automated. So you want to remove all of that, and here's the step where you can do that. You can also normalize the job title, because sometimes they have very random job titles and job titles which contains a description as well. So you need to normalize that, or just shorten it and simplify it using AI or just the native feature of Clay. You can also use some personalized variables using AI. For example, when I'm running outreach for myself, I often use this ICP and service variables. Now by ICP variable, I reference it as what the leads ICP is. I reference it that, hey, I know that hey, I checked your website and looked that you guys reach out to ICP1 and ICP2 with your offer 1 and offer 2. So I use these types of variables to make my email look more researched and look more personalized. And this differentiates me from all those other cold emails which are way generic that they're getting. And that gives them the feeling that, hey, this guy actually researched about me and knows what they're talking about. So it might be worth to reply to them. These small things actually build trust and make your email much more relevant compared to a generic message. Now, since this is clear, let's move to the next step, which is the email sending step, where we are using a tool called Instantly AI. You can use other tools as well. There's Smart Lead or Reach Inbox. There are a couple of other tools that we can use for automating the email outreach part. I often stick to Instantly AI. It's pretty good. This is quite simple because here, since you have the lead list prepared, you can directly integrate it with your campaign that you have created on Instantly, and then directly enter your email sequences, generate spin taxes. Now, what's a spin tax? This is super important again because most of the people don't have any idea what spin taxing means. So by spin tax, I mean that we are not sending the exact same message to everyone, even though it's in the same campaign. Obviously, the variables would be different. The first name variable that we are referencing would be different. The company name would be different. We are also using some custom variable which are AI personalized. That also would be different. But we want to generate more variations in our email, because if you're not doing this much variation, and if your emails look, let's say, 50% same or 70% same, those IPs, those ESPs like Google, Microsoft are keeping a track of all the emails that you're sending, and they will know that, hey, this guy is bulk sending emails which looks very similar. And this will increase the chances of your mailboxes and domains to get burned way faster. You don't need to be in that situation, and that's why you need to follow these best practices that I'm telling right now, which is spin text creation. Now there's a way more deeper video in my channel, in my course, about how to generate spin text, so please watch that. You will get a very good idea about how to create spin texts. But in a nutshell, it is about creating multiple variations of the exact same message and email sequence that you have. Essentially, you're using multiple other words which sound similar, but they are worded in a different way, or you are using synonyms of the same words or something like that, and you are making some kind of formula to just use the variations one at a time. And the next step that you do is you replace the spam words. Instantly does have this feature where they will give you option to check what are the spam words in your email copy, because these spam words might trigger those spam triggers in these ESPs like Google and Microsoft, and they might block your email before even it goes to the sender, before even it goes to the recipient. So you don't want to be in that situation. So obviously I'll 100% recommend do a spam check before launching any campaign and remove all the spam words, and replace it with the non-spammy words but which conveys the exact same message. And once you have done these two steps, and since you know that your lead list is pretty damn good because you have done the scoring correctly, qualification correctly, personalization correctly, so you have the messaging really good, you are doing the A/B testing really good, and then you have the infra in a good place, just launch the campaign and then wait for 2 to 3 weeks. Send at least 1500 emails a day if your TAM size is more than 50,000, 60,000 companies, and then you'll get a good insights of which offer is working, which offer is not working, which ICP is responding the most, which ICP is not responding. So that was the whole video. If you like this, if you have watched till now, then please click on the subscribe button, like this video. And if you want to know how to build this entire system right from scratch, do check out my mini course that I have uploaded on YouTube completely for free. But if you're someone who's really serious about your business and want to build this really carefully, in that case, you can check out my course. And also, if you want me to build this entire system and run it for you and generate qualified appointments consistently, In that case, just go below and book a call with me directly.